Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed. At 1,000 subscribers, I'll be posting a special video. I was halfway to the dugout before I realized I was running. My hand clenched around my kid's water bottle so hard it creaked. My name is Mark. I was 38 the day everything cracked. I thought I was just dropping off a bottle, not walking into a burial. From the bleachers, I caught her shape near the back fence, turned away. I almost called her name, then I noticed who stood in front of her. Coach. His shoulders leaned in toward her like there was no one else alive. You know that moment when your brain lags behind your eyes? I remember thinking they must be talking about my son's pitching. Something normal, something boring, something safe enough to ignore. Even now I hate how badly I wanted that easy story. I moved closer along the fence, shoes loud on the packed dirt. They did not step apart, they did not even twitch at my footsteps. Her head tilted up toward him, his hand hovered near her hip. It looked like gravity, not a mistake, and my stomach dropped hard. I slowed down instead of shouting, which still surprises me. I have replayed that choice so many nights it feels scripted now. If I yelled from far away, my son would hear every word. So I kept walking, heart pounding, trying to look like nothing burned. Seriously, you can't text me like that during practice. Her voice floated over, half laugh, half scold, like they shared a joke. He shifted closer, arm brushing her side, and she did not move. Something inside me started screaming, but my feet pushed forward anyway. He reached out and hooked a finger through her belt loop, casual. You do not do that with a friend, you just do not. She looked up at him with this tired little smile I knew well. I stopped walking because the next step felt like stepping off a roof. They were hidden from most of the field, tucked behind the dugout wall. My son was out there throwing to another kid, shouting and laughing. He had no idea his parents were detonating behind his favorite place. If I turned around, I could still pretend this never happened. I did not turn around. I stepped around the corner hard enough that the bottle slipped. Plastic smacked the ground, rolled, bumped against Coach's shoe and stopped. They both flinched, but they did not jump apart like strangers caught. He pulled his hand back first, too late, eyes snapping to mine. She froze a heartbeat longer, and that extra beat punched me hardest. Then she spun toward me, mouth already forming something that sounded like sorry. I saw fear in her face, not shock, and that told me everything. Mark, what are you doing here? Her voice cracked on my name, thin and sharp. I stared at the space where his hand had been, like it still glowed. My chest felt tight, but my thoughts suddenly went very, very clear. I brought our son's water. The words came out flat, almost calm, and that scared me. Coach shifted his weight back, like maybe he could fade into the wall. My wife took a step toward me, hands lifting like she could fix air. It's not what it looks like. Yeah. Those were actually the first words she chose, standing there with him. Something in me laughed, this short, ugly sound that did not feel human. You really want to go with that line? I heard my own voice and almost did not recognize it. He opened his mouth like he might jump in and rescue her story. I turned my head just enough to look at him, and he swallowed. Practice noises kept drifting around the corner, bats and shouts and whistles. That normal sound pressed against this narrow space like a bad soundtrack. I caught sight of my kid through the gap, winding up for a pitch. My throat clenched because whatever I said next would not stay here. We were just talking about his progress. She flicked a hand toward the field, eyes shiny but still calculating. I could see her building excuses in real time, flimsy little bridges. I took one step closer, and her words trailed off like she hit a cliff. Coach finally spoke, voice low, trying to sound responsible and steady. Look man, I think we should all just calm down. That word hit me wrong, calm, like I was some drunk parent causing trouble. My hands curled into fists, not for violence, just to stop them shaking. Do not call me man. My voice dropped quieter than his, and he looked away first. He glanced toward the field like he was the one worried about the kids. I noticed he had no trouble standing between me and my own wife. I shifted my body so I blocked him from her a little. I did not want him behind her shoulder, inside our argument. She picked at the edge of her sleeve, eyes darting between us. She looked like someone cornered, but not like someone innocent. Mark, please, you're making a bigger deal out of this than it is. That sentence hit harder than the kiss I had not even mentioned yet. Because in that moment, I realized she assumed I had seen everything. Which meant there had been something to see, probably More than once. I watched you from the fence. The words felt heavy leaving my mouth, like they changed gravity. Her shoulders dropped for half a second, like a mask slipping off. Then she pasted on this half smile, the one she used on strangers. It was a stupid moment, it didn't mean anything, we were just. She cut herself off because even she heard how useless that sounded. I looked at Coach, really looked, searching for any sign of regret. All I saw was annoyance, like I had interrupted his favorite show. Someone yelled my son's name from the field, telling him to switch stations. He turned his head, scanning for me, probably expecting a thumbs up. I stayed in the shadow of the dugout, unable to lift my arm. I think that was the exact second something in me shut a door. I stepped closer again, enough that my shoulder brushed the wall. They both went quiet, like I had walked into a prayer they knew was fake. I lowered my voice so only they could hear the next words. If he looks over here, you keep your faces normal and you smile. Her chin trembled, but she nodded fast, like a kid caught stealing. Coach stared at me like he wanted to argue and thought better of it. I felt weirdly detached, like I was watching someone else puppet my body. The only clear thing in my head was my son would not see this. For a second, none of us talked. You could hear the thud of balls hitting, gloves out on the dirt. She wiped under one eye with her thumb, careful not to smear anything. That tiny, practice gesture told me this was not their first stolen minute. After practice, you go straight home. My voice sounded steady, which felt like a lie my body told for me. You do not talk to him alone again, not ever, not once. I did not look at Coach when I said it, and that hurt his pride. He shifted forward anyway, jaw tight, like he wanted to reclaim ground. This is getting out of hand, you're overreacting, we didn't even. I turned my head and our eyes locked, all the fake patience gone. Whatever he planned to finish died on his tongue when he saw my face. I am not proud of the next thought that hit me. It was not about my vows, not about trust, not about love. It was about my kid standing 20 yards away, trusting this man. And suddenly, the idea of him near my family made my skin crawl. I'm pulling him off this team. That sentence came out before I even knew I believed it. Her mouth fell open, pure shock now, finally something honest. Coach's nostrils flared because I had just messed with his little kingdom. You can't just do that, he loves this team, he needs this. She moved closer, hand reaching for my arm, trying to soften me. I stepped back once and her fingers caught air instead of skin. That tiny miss felt sharper than any slap for both of us. Practice wrapped up faster than I wanted, whistles blowing, kids shouting. I still had not yelled, which felt strange, like holding in a sneeze. She hurried out toward the field with this forced brightness in her voice. I stayed behind the dugout wall because I could not fake normal yet. My son ran off the field beaming, glove under one arm, eyes searching. He spotted me and raised his hand, waiting for our usual little signal. For a heartbeat, I almost pretended I had just arrived, nothing wrong. Then I caught the coach watching us, expression tight, and the lie crumbled. I lifted my hand and forced some version of a wave. My son trotted over, talking fast about drills and plays and jokes. I listened enough to nod, but every word felt far away and muted. Behind him, I saw my wife hovering near the fence, face pale and hopeful. Hey buddy, grab your stuff, we're heading out early today. He frowned, confused, because leaving early was not our style at all. Did I do something wrong? That question hit harder than any accusation she could have thrown. You're fine, you're great, I just need to talk to Mom. I ruffled his hair, the gesture automatic, desperate, almost too tight. Okay, pack up fast, I'll meet you at the car in 5. He jogged off, still puzzled, and I turned back toward the dugout corner. My wife waited there, arms wrapped around herself, Coach a step away. The three of us formed this crooked little triangle that used to be a family. I felt the moment stretching, like it would decide the rest of everything. I did not know it yet, but this was only the first crack in the floor. I dropped the keys on the counter hard enough to make her flinch. The sound snapped through the kitchen like a shot, sharp and final. She hovered near the fridge, arms folded tight, Coach nowhere in sight now. I remember thinking this was our real game and I had no playbook. Our kid bounded through the door behind us, glove still on his hand. Did you see my throw at the end? He looked from me to her, reading our faces faster than any scoreboard. Hit the shower, champ, we'll talk in a minute. He hesitated, catching the tension hanging between us like wet clothes. Are you guys fighting? The question hit harder than anything she had done behind that dugout. We're just talking later, go clean up before dinner. He disappeared down the hallway and the water kicked on a minute later. We stared at each other in the doorway like two strangers after a crash. She rubbed her wrist with her thumb, a nervous tick I had always missed. Are you going to just stand there or say something? You kiss him at practice now, that part of the training schedule. The words came out low and steady, which honestly scared me. Her throat moved, eyes going glossy for effect she had used before. It got out of hand, it was a stupid moment, it meant nothing. I almost grabbed that answer like a life ring almost. Because if it was nothing, I did not have to burn everything down. It looked pretty practice from where I stood. My knuckles dug into the counter, trying to hold myself in one piece. She stepped closer, hands lifted like she could calm a wild animal. We've been under pressure, you and me, everything feels off lately. Her gaze searched my face, hunting for the softer version of me. I just needed attention, it was one time, I swear to you. You ever notice how fast you start bargaining with reality? Part of me wanted to cling to that word once like it was a promise. The other part pictured his hand on her belt loop again, easy and familiar. That second part started winning and my stomach twisted. Do you think I'm stupid or just blind? My voice shook now, the calm starting to crack around the edges. She shook her head fast, hair brushing her cheeks, eyes locked on mine. I panicked when you walked up, I grabbed the first words I could. I leaned back against the counter, needing something solid behind me. Start again then, this time without the fake script. Her shoulders slumped a little, and for the first time she looked tired. You're blowing up our whole life over one mistake. The shower shut off down the hall and we both froze. We heard drawers open, footsteps, the small normal sounds of our kid. We're not doing this in front of him. My jaw clenched so hard it hurt because we already had. She moved past me to the stove, pretending to fuss with nothing important. I watched her hands, too steady for someone who claimed panic. We'll eat, put him to bed, then talk like adults. Her voice smoothed out like she was scheduling a meeting instead of fallout. Dinner was quiet, way too quiet for a house with a young boy. He tried to fill the gaps, telling stories from practice in bursts. I nodded when I should have, but my mind kept replaying the dugout. Across the table, she laughed at his jokes with just a little too much effort. At one point he looked between us, fork paused halfway to his mouth. Did coach say anything about my form today? Her eyes flicked to mine, a quick flash of guilt under her smile. He thinks you're doing great, he really believes in you. Great. That word landed in my chest like a brick. I almost asked if coach believed in her that much too. I swallowed it because my son already read too much from our faces. After dinner he curled on the couch, cartoon humming softly in the background. She sat at the other end, legs tucked under her, phone in hand. Every time the screen lit up, her thumb flew over it fast. I pretended to scroll through my own feed, counting each vibration. Mom, can coach come to my next game if I switch teams? The question floated up out of nowhere, casual and devastating. She froze for a heartbeat, then forced a light answer. Let's just stay where you are for now, okay, we'll see later. When he finally trudged off to bed, I watched her face carefully. The almost relaxed mask slid back into tight focus, phone still in her grip. I'm going to tuck him in, then we finish this. The words tasted like metal, but I meant them. Upstairs, my son wrapped his arms around my neck longer than usual. You and mom good? He whispered it into my shoulder, breath hot, body small but solid. We're working stuff out, that's our job, not yours. I stood in the hallway after closing his door, listening for a minute. No crying, no movement, just soft breathing and a fan. On the landing, I caught a glow from downstairs, pulsing steady. Her phone again, calling out like a beacon I wanted to ignore. She sat at the table when I came back down, glass in front of her. The phone rested near her elbow, face down like some guilty pet. We need to clear the air before this gets worse. She looked at me like I was the unreasonable one in the room. Good, let's clear it. I pulled out the chair across from her, the space feeling miles wide. How long has this been going on between you two? I watched her carefully because the first answer is always the cleanest lie. She laughed once, short and shaky, fingers drumming on the table. Going on? No. Thing is going on, there was a kiss, that's all. There it was again, that word she loved, nothing like it erased evidence. I stared at the upside-down phone, the silent partner in her story. I don't believe in accidents that look that comfortable. My voice had that quiet ring that scared even me. Her mouth tightened and she tilted her chin up, already defensive. You've been distant, you never notice me, he just listened sometimes. And now we were here, my failures queued up as her shield. I am not innocent, I know that, I got wrapped in work and routine. But in that moment, hearing my flaws turned into a hall pass enraged me. That's your explanation, you were lonely, so you grabbed my son's coach. The name she had for him never left her mouth right then. She swallowed hard, fingers sliding over the phone like a reflex. I am telling you, it was a single slip, it won't happen again. Her tone begged me to sign that story like a contract. I should have ended the talk there, but I needed something solid. Then you won't mind showing me your messages with him. I nodded toward the phone, heartbeat banging in my ears. She went very still, the kind of still that answers questions without words. That's a violation, you don't trust me at all, do you? Her hand closed over the device, shoulders rolling back in outrage. The anger looked real enough, but it came too fast, too polished. That's exactly the problem, you always want to inspect and control. The irony almost made me choke. I had never checked her devices once before that night. I watched you with him today, I'm not imagining this, give me the phone. My hand stayed on my side of the table, but the room shrank. No. Just that flat cold, pushing me right over a line. She slid the phone into her pocket, like tucking away a secret child. If you can't trust my word, what's the point of any of this? I stood up too fast, the chair legs scraping loud across the floor. For a second, I pictured grabbing the phone right out of her hand. Instead, I walked away toward the couch because I trusted my temper too little. Behind me, I heard her mutter something under her breath, bitter and low. I sat in the dark living room, listening to cabinets open and close. At some point she walked past, phone in her back pocket, eyes red. I'm going to shower, we can talk when I calm down. Water started running upstairs, and a new thought slid into my head. I am not proud of what I did next, not even a little. I went back to the kitchen, checking the counters like a thief. Her purse sat near the wall, strap hanging loose over the edge. I opened it with shaking hands, looking for the backup device I knew she carried. There it was, the older phone she used before the upgrade. She had wiped it for our kids' games, or so she claimed last month. I tapped the screen and watched it wake up with her old lock screen. My fingers hovered over the numbers, and my stomach dropped when it opened. Of course it opened. I punched in our anniversary date, the one we had always used. That tiny success sickened me, because it meant she never saw risk here. Icons filled the screen, and my thumb went straight to messages. I typed the coach's name into the search bar, heart hammering. A thread popped up under some generic label, just initials, nothing obvious. I opened it, expecting maybe 1 or 2 lines of flirty garbage. What I found hit like someone kicked my ribs from the inside. Weeks, not days. Thread after thread of witty banter, private jokes, playful digs at my habits. Then the shift, the point where jokes turned into late-night confessions. Lines about missing each other, about feeling alive again, about secrets. Further down, everything got bolder, less careful, almost proud. There were selfies from the field, from her car, from his office. There was one of them together, too close, heads touching, his grin smug. Under it, her caption read, "Wish I was here every night instead." I thought that was the worst part, but I kept scrolling. Talk about meeting up after practice, planning a motel, leaving windows open. Schedules compared, excuses rehearsed, stories lined up for me. At one point he actually wrote, "Your husband has no clue, this is easy." My throat closed and I had to set the phone on the table. I stared at that line, the contempt baked right into it. You know that feeling when humiliation burns hotter than anger? That was it, sitting alone in my own kitchen, reading their comedy roast. I picked the phone back up because apparently I like suffering. More messages, more plans, even a half-joking line about our son. He's improving fast, wonder where he gets that drive from. Her answer under that made my hands go ice cold. He gets it from you, you push me harder than Mark ever did. Seeing my name in that context, compared to this man, twisted everything. I snapped a few quick photos of the screen with my own phone. If she tried to spin later, I wanted something I could hold up. Water upstairs shut off, followed by the hum of the fan. I put her old phone back into the purse, closing it carefully. My chest heaved, breath shallow, head buzzing like a swarm. By the time she walked into the room, I had my own device in hand. She paused in the doorway, hair damp, shirt thrown on fast. What now, you still want to fight, or can we sleep? Her tone carried that exhausted edge, like I was the chaos here. I lifted my phone, the photos bright and undeniable on the screen. Who is he to you, really, because this doesn't look tiny anymore. I turned the screen so she could see a clear shot of their messages. The color drained from her face so fast it almost looked fake. Her hand flew to her mouth, eyes locked on a line about the motel. Where did you get that? Did you go through my stuff? There it was, my crime neat and ready on her tongue. I almost laughed because the shift to my invasion was textbook. Answer the question, how long have you been with him like this? She reached out for the phone, but I pulled it back just enough. Her shoulders sagged and the fight went out of her knees all at once. It started as messages, jokes after practice. I didn't think it through. Her voice trembled now, and for the first time that night it sounded real. I pointed at the date stamp on the screen, tapping it once. This is from months ago, you had time to think, a lot of time. She stared at the little numbers like they were a foreign language. Tears spilled over, but I had run out of sympathy on that front. Yes, okay, it's been a while, I kept telling myself I'd stop. Her words tumbled fast, chasing each other like she could outrun the truth. We only kissed a few times, we met up once, it wasn't serious. She broke then, shoulders shaking, eyes red, voice cracking on every other word. Once. That word again, trying to compress an entire second life into a hiccup. You text about a motel 3 different nights, that's more than once. I scrolled, showing her line after line, each one nails in our floorboards. I backed out some of those times, I changed my mind, I went home. She gripped the back of a chair, knuckles pressed white, breathing rough. I know I messed up, I hate myself, I hate what I did to you. Her gaze searched mine again, begging for a lifeline I no longer held. Here is the ugly part I wish I could skip. I wanted her to say something that made this manageable. Some magic sentence that would shrink betrayal down to a fixable size. Instead, every new truth only widened the crack under our feet. You joked about me with him in those texts, you know that, right? I read one out loud, the one where she called me predictable and boring. Her mouth twisted, hearing her words echoed back in my raw voice. I was venting, trying to sound fun, it doesn't mean I never loved you. Loved. Past tense, sliding out without her noticing, stabbing me on the way. She caught it a second later, but the damage was done. I still care, I'm here, I'm not running off with him, I chose this house. I looked around our kitchen, suddenly aware of how small it felt. You didn't choose this house, you got caught behind a dugout wall. My voice steadied again, which for some reason terrified both of us. From now on, I sleep in the guest room, and he is out of our lives. She blinked at me like those 2 sentences came from a stranger. You're just going to give up after everything, after one mistake. One mistake wrapped around 100 choices months long. I'm not giving up, I'm stepping back before I say something our kid hears forever. I walked down the hallway without waiting for her answer. In the spare room, I pulled the blanket up with stiff hands. Through the wall, I could hear a muffled sound, maybe crying, maybe cursing. I lay there staring at the ceiling, knowing deep down this was only the first confession she would give me. He bounced on my mattress before the alarm even went off. Dad, get up, I'm going early, Coach said I can hit extra. My eyes snapped open at that word, hitting harder than any ringtone. For a second I forgot how to move, then it all came flooding back. I pushed myself upright slow, blanket tangled around my legs. You're not going early today. He stopped bouncing, grin fading into a confused stare. The guest room suddenly felt way too small for this conversation. Why not? He's working with the infield before everyone else arrives. He clutched his glove against his chest like a ticket. You can work with me in the yard instead. The offer tasted weak even as I said it. His mouth twisted, caught between hurt and teenage attitude. You never come on the field like he does, you always watch from the bleachers. That line cut deeper than anything my wife had thrown at me. Things are changing, I have to handle something with the team. He's hinted at me, trying to read the spaces I left blank. Did coach do something wrong? Is that why mom was crying yesterday? The question landed heavy, pressing against everything I wanted to hide. Grown-up problem, not your fault, I'll explain as much as I can. Down the hall, a door latch clicked, light spilling under the frame. She stepped into the doorway a moment later, eyes puffy, hair pulled back. We are not dragging him into this mess, leave his team alone. Her voice already carried that warning edge, morning truce gone in seconds. He spun toward her, relief flooding his face at the sight. Mom, tell him I can go early, coach promised I'd get more reps. She hesitated, glancing at me, and that tiny pause spoiled her answer. He'll be there, but we need to talk first, all three of us. I don't want a family meeting. He muttered it, but he stayed in the room, shifting from foot to foot. I could feel the moment sliding away from me, like sand through fingers. Get dressed, grab a snack, then come back in here for 5 minutes. He groaned but obeyed, stomping out toward his room down the hall. Once he disappeared, I met her stare across the guest bed. You expect me to leave him around that man like nothing happened? My hands pressed against my knees, trying to keep my voice level. She stepped into the room, closing the door halfway behind her. He's still his coach, nothing happened in front of our child, stop panicking. Her tone made me feel irrational, and that used to work on me. Your messages say otherwise, I'm not handing our son back to that dynamic. She flinched at the word messages, like I had slapped her with it. You're twisting everything, he's never crossed a line with our kid. That defense made my jaw ache from clenching so hard. You used access to our family as a perk in your side fling. She moved closer, lowering her voice to a harsh whisper. You yank him off the team without explanation, you crush him for what I did. Finally, some honesty slipped into her words and it stung. I'd rather hurt his season than teach him his dad stays quiet. There was a quick knock, then our son's head poked around the door. Can I come in, or are you still whisper fighting? That phrasing stabbed me and almost made me laugh at the same time. Yeah, come sit, we're going to talk about baseball. He dropped into the chair near the window, shoe tapping against the leg. His eyes bounced between us, checking for signs of explosion. I'm thinking about moving you to another program. The sentence hung there, thick and heavy, waiting to explode. His whole body recoiled, like I suggested cutting off a limb. What? Why? I just started playing well, coach says I'm finally consistent. Tears rushed up faster than he wanted them to, and he blinked hard. You're not even at every practice, and now you want to ruin it. I deserve that part, and we both knew it. I'm not punishing you, I'm taking you away from a grown-up conflict. He frowned, not satisfied, not buying the vague language. Did he talk trash about me? Did I screw up something huge? Beside me, my wife shifted, hands twisting together in her lap. No, baby, you didn't do anything, this is between adults. He snapped his head toward her, eyes narrowing as he caught the tremor. Then why are your eyes swollen? Did coach yell at you? The urge to say yes flashed through me, quick and vicious. If I painted coach as the villain, this would get easier with our son. I bit it back because my kid deserved at least one parent not lying. Your mother and I had a fight, part of it involves him, that's enough. He turned back to me, shoulders rigid, jaw pushed forward in defiance. If you switch me now, everyone on the team will know something happened. He wasn't wrong, gossip spreads faster than skill drills. My job is to protect you, not my own reputation at the fence. He sank deeper into the chair, wiping his cheek with the back of his hand. So this is decided, you already made up your mind without asking me. That accusation hurt in a different place than the betrayal. I stayed quiet a few beats, then nodded once. Yeah, I made a call, but I'll give you choices inside that. He stared at the floor, processing, breathing uneven. You can finish this week while we look at other teams or stop immediately. His head jerked up at the idea of quitting midweek. I'm not quitting in the middle, everyone will think I chickened out. Even angry, he cared about showing up for his teammates. Then we finished this week, but there are rules. I could feel my wife stiffen beside me before I even listed them. You don't stay after, no one-on-one work with him, I'm at every session. He rolled his eyes at the last part, not the first two. Whatever, you complain about work and now you're at every practice. He wanted to hurt me a little and it landed. My wife exhaled sharply, rubbing her forehead with two fingers. This is ridiculous, parents talk to coaches alone all the time. I snapped my attention to her, cutting that push off at the root. We are not discussing normal when you used that contact for your affair. Our son's head whipped toward her at that last word. He didn't fully grasp it, but he understood enough to feel shaken. What does that mean? What did you do? His voice cracked, and I hated myself for letting that slip. She jumped in fast, hands reaching for him like she could shield the truth. Dad is upset, he's using words that make things sound worse. He pulled away from her touch, eyes locked on her face now. Worse than what? What did you do? Every instinct screamed to stop this scene, to rewind 3 minutes. But there we were, and I had already set the match. I lost trust in some people around the team, that's what it means. It was the softest version of the truth I could manage. He stared at me for a long second, then back at her. You both promised you'd never keep big secrets from me. We had, and we had already broken that promise in 8 different ways. I'm trying to fix a bad situation without dumping it on you. He stood abruptly, shoving the chair back against the wall. I'm going to get dressed. If you two ruin baseball for me, I'm never forgiving you. He slammed his door on the way to his room, shaking the hallway. That echo followed me for weeks every time I tried to sleep. As soon as he disappeared, she turned on me like a storm. You just planted the word affair in his head, what is wrong with you? Her hands flew through the air, chopping the space between us. He heard it once, he doesn't have context, you gave him poison without explanation. My chest tightened with a mix of shame and stubborn anger. I didn't cheat, I reacted, those are not equal sins. Her nostrils flared, eyes flashing with a mix of guilt and rage. Keep telling yourself that, you just snapped something in him you can't glue back. She left the room, muttering under her breath, footsteps sharp down the hall. A few minutes later, drawers opened and shut, closet doors thudded. I sat on the edge of the bed, elbows on my knees, breathing through the shake. Then I stood up and started pulling on my own clothes for the day. On the drive to the field, our boy stared out the window, jaw clenched. She rode in the passenger seat, arms locked across her chest. No music, no small talk, just the rumble of the engine. I could feel every mile doubling the distance between all 3 of us. We pulled into the lot and saw the group already gathering near the fence. Coach stood near the batting cage, clipboard under his arm, talking animatedly. The sight put my teeth on edge faster than caffeine ever had. Remember the rules, straight to me when practice ends. Our son yanked the door open before I even cut the ignition. Got it, Dad, I'm not a baby, I know how to walk to a car. He hopped out, sprinting toward his friends, relief in every step. Watching him run toward that man-made bile creep up my throat. Coach's eyes met mine across the field as our son joined the warm-up. For a second his smile faltered, then he plastered on a friendly grin. He lifted his hand in a casual wave, like we were just other parents. I did not move, hands locked on the wheel, staring back. You can't cause a scene here, not in front of the team. Her voice was low, urgent, cutting through my thoughts. You invited the scene when you chose him, not me. I stepped out of the car, shutting the door with more force than needed. We walked to the bleachers in tight silence, an invisible wall between us. Parents nodded in our direction, some offering automatic smiles. They had no clue we were carrying a bomb into their little Saturday routine. I sat down near the front rail, eyes locked on the diamond. Warm-ups rolled on, grounders, throws, short sprints. Coach moved between players, adjusting stances, giving quick pointers. He skipped our boy for a few minutes, then finally stopped beside him. As soon as he leaned in, my fingers curled into fists on my knees. Our son laughed at something Coach said, shoulders loosening, fear fading. That sound gutted me more than any of the previous fights. Because he still trusted this man, and why wouldn't he? The sins between adults hadn't shown their full teeth yet. She watched me out of the corner of her eye, shoulders tense. If you blow up on him out there, they'll kick our kid off anyway. I breathed in through my nose, forcing air into tight lungs. I'll pick my spot, but I'm not leaving today without a line drawn. Training wrapped up with a quick scrimmage, parents clapping at big plays. Our son made a clean catch at third, pivoted, fired to first. People cheered, someone shouted his name, pride swelling in their voices. I clapped too because betrayal didn't erase how hard he worked. When the whistle went, kids jogged toward the water cooler. In a cluster, Coach clapped them on the shoulders as they passed, handing out praise. Nice hustle, strong throw, way to stay with it, floated across the field. Each casual compliment scraped against what I knew he wrote in those texts. Our boy peeled away from the group and trotted toward me, flushed and bright. That was awesome. Did you see the double play I started? I forced a grin, high-fived him, felt his palm still small against mine. Yeah, you crushed it. Now go grab your gear. We're heading out. Coach said I could stay after to work on my swing. He gestured back toward the infield, hope shining in his eyes. My stomach tightened because there it was, the first real test of our deal. That's not happening, not today. You heard what we talked about. He groaned, shoulders dropping, gaze darting back toward the cage. Everybody else stays, I'll fall behind. He promised he'd help me move up. The desperation in his voice almost cracked my resolve. I'm not negotiating with a man who crossed our family the way he did. Crossed how? You keep saying that, but you never explain. His voice rose, drawing a few curious glances from nearby parents. Before I could answer, Coach started heading our way, clipboard under his arm. My pulse kicked up, each step he took ringing in my ears. Hey, you guys got a minute? His tone was polite on the surface, tight underneath. He stopped on the other side of the fence, resting his hand on the rail. My wife stood up beside me, shoulders squared, ready for damage control. Our son's leaving, we're done with extras. I didn't give him the smile he expected. He blinked once, then gave a practiced chuckle. Always room for progress, wouldn't want him losing that momentum. He shifted his attention to my wife, softening his expression. You doing okay? Long day yesterday, huh? That little familiar tone made my skin crawl right off my bones. She glanced between us, lips tightening, trapped inside her own mess. Talk to me if there's an issue, we can handle it like men. That sentence lit every fuse I had left. Like he was my equal in this, like we were partners in problem solving. I stepped closer to the fence, closing the gap until we were eye level. We are handling it my way, which means you stay away from my family. The words came out steady, no shouting, which made them heavier. His jaw flexed, smile dropping just a fraction as the mask slipped. We're at a ballpark, not a bar, maybe lower the attitude. Parents nearby started pretending not to listen, faces turned but ears open. My son stood a few yards behind me, glove hanging at his side. Almost everyone he admired in one place, watching this showdown. I heard how you talk when you think I'm not in the room. His eyes narrowed, then flicked quickly toward my wife and back. A tiny flash of panic betrayed him before the smooth voice returned. You sure you're not projecting stuff? These are serious accusations. There it was, the gaslighting shift, right on schedule. I pulled my phone from my pocket, thumb hovering over the photos. For a second, I pictured blasting the screenshots right there by the fence. Let every parent see exactly what he thought of me and my family. Then I glanced at my son's face and pulled back from that edge. This conversation isn't about accusations, it's about decisions. I slid the phone away, choosing a different kind of blow. He won't be under your supervision after this week, that's final. I could almost hear the whispers starting in the row behind us. Coach leaned closer to the fence, voice dropping low. You pull him now, you're hurting your kid's chances more than you know. The arrogance in that line almost made me laugh. She's not a prize you win with reps, and neither is my respect. His expression flickered at the choice of pronoun and what it implied. Something ugly flashed there just for a heartbeat. He straightened up, addressing my son instead, bypassing me entirely. You're doing good work, don't let anyone stall your future. That move snapped something else in me, a different kind of rage. Using my kid as a pawn right in front of me, like I was decoration. Don't talk to him about his future when you couldn't respect his present. My voice was low but sharp, every word deliberate. Our son stepped closer, eyes wide, caught between two adults he respected. "Coach, am I in trouble? Did I screw something up with the plays?" He looked genuinely worried now, not just annoyed. "No, you're one of the hardest workers out here, everyone sees that." I rested a hand on my boy's shoulder, grounding both of us. "This isn't about your skill, you did great out there, this is my choice." He shrugged away from my hand, face flushing, anger and embarrassment mixing. "I don't get a say in my own life now, awesome." Coach watched that interaction with a little pleased twist at the corner of his mouth. Maybe that's me being harsh, but that's how it felt in the moment. I focused on my son, not the man behind the fence. You get a say in how hard you work, not who abuses their position. There it was. The word slipped out before I could filter it. Abuses. Wide enough to cover everything without naming it outright. My wife stepped between us then, facing Coach directly. "We'll talk about scheduling later, right now we need to go." Her voice shook, but she held his gaze longer than I expected. He studied her face, then mine, then finally lifted his hands in mock surrender. Okay, family first of course, see you at the next game then." He stressed the word next like a challenge. We turned away without answering, our son trailing behind us, fuming. Every step toward the car felt like walking uphill through wet cement. As soon as we reached the parking lot, our boy burst. "You just embarrassed me in front of everyone, did you see their faces?" He yanked the door open, tossing his stuff inside, breathing hard. "You think I wanted any of this? You think this is my dream scenario?" He climbed into the backseat, slamming the door, arms folded tight. From the front, she stared straight ahead, jaw rigid, eyes shining. "That could have been handled quieter, you turned it into a spectacle." Her words carried equal parts accusation and fear. Maybe, but he's not the only one who knows how to act confident in public. I gripped the wheel, knuckles burning, heart pounding like I just ran sprints. This week we finish out, then we're done with this field and that man. Out of the rearview mirror, I watched our son stare at the back of my seat like it had betrayed him too. I dragged the pen across the last line before I could chicken out. The retainer form slid back toward the attorney, my signature still wet. He studied me for a second like he was measuring damage, not ink. "It's better to prepare now than scramble later, you understand that?" I nodded, staring at the folder on his desk like it might bite. "So this isn't filing yet, this is getting ready." My voice sounded stiff, like it belonged to someone else in that chair. "Exactly, you document everything, you stay calm, and you do not move out." That part stuck in my throat. Why not? The tension in that house could snap steel. He laced his fingers together, tone steady, almost bored. "The one who leaves gives up leverage, you stay put, you protect your kid." He handed me a printed sheet with bullet points and a short list. "Record interactions that matter, keep copies of financial statements, no screaming matches." The irony of that last one almost pulled a bitter laugh out of me. "If she escalates, you walk away, judges remember the calm parent." I left the office with the folder under my arm like contraband. The air outside felt thick, like I had stepped into soup. On the drive home, my fingers kept tapping the wheel in jumpy bursts. I kept hearing the attorney's final line, "Don't warn her about every move." Her car was already in the driveway when I pulled in. For a second I thought about circling the block just to delay impact. Instead I killed the engine and walked straight inside, folder tight in my grip. She was at the counter, phone in hand, eyes locked on the screen. She looked up fast when the door latch clicked. "You skipped lunch at home again, you avoiding me now?" Her voice carried this mix of fake lightness and real anxiety. I set the folder on the table, just out of her reach. "Met with a lawyer." No warm-up, no soft landing, just that line. Her face went from annoyed to pale in one breath. "You're already trying to divorce me just like that." "Planning, not filing, yet." I pulled out a chair and sat before my legs gave out. "This mess has teeth, I'm not going to walk through it blind." She stared at the folder like it might explode on contact. "You think some stranger understands us better than I do." She moved closer, palms flat on the table, knuckles tense. "This is our marriage, not a case number, talk to me, not him." I watched her eyes, not her hands, old habit now. "I tried talking, you gave me half stories and soft focus versions." I tapped the folder once, not opening it, just feeling the weight. He told me something simple: protect myself, protect our kid, gather facts. The word facts made her shoulders twitch like she'd been stung. You really think I'm out to destroy you? Her lower lip shook a little, anger and fear twisted together. I messed up, I owned it, I'm still here trying to fix this. She reached toward the folder like she might yank it away. I dragged it closer before she touched it. You're still messaging him. Her flinch confirmed it before any words did. Don't bother denying it, phone records don't lie as much as people. She folded her arms tight, chin lifting in immediate defense. I was ending things, do you understand that concept, ending something? Her voice rose, notch, then dropped again when she caught herself. He needed to hear it from me, not just watch you stomp around. He needs to hear nothing from you, that's the point of no contact. The attorney's language came out of my mouth before I could soften it. Her eyes narrowed when she recognized I was quoting someone else. So now you're just a puppet for legal advice, got it. I pushed my chair back, stood, started pacing near the table edge. You told me it was over, then I see his number still showing up. My breath came faster now, chest tight, words sharper than I intended. If you can't cut him off, I have to assume this is still happening. It is not still happening. She slapped her palm against the table, voice shaking hard. He keeps calling, he keeps pulling, it's not that simple to just block. Her eyes darted toward her phone like it was buzzing in her pocket. He keeps pulling because you left that door cracked on purpose. I pointed toward the hallway, toward the room where our son slept. Every time you answer, you drag this house deeper into his shadow. Her face twisted at the word shadow, like I'd insulted her taste. He lost opportunities over this too, you know, parents talk, people notice tension. She sounded almost protective, and that hit me sideways. You're worried about his reputation while ours falls apart. She shook her head hard, hair whipping her cheeks. You don't get it, he's under pressure from the league, from parents, from everyone. She stepped closer, voice dropping, like she was sharing some secret burden. He risked a lot for me, it's not easy to just watch him get crushed. That sentence stopped me cold. He risked a lot for you. I repeated it slowly, letting each word land. What exactly did he risk, besides my trust and our stability? Her gaze slid away for half a second, and that half second screamed. You know how short contracts are in youth sports, you know how rumors spread. She crossed her arms again, hugging herself like armor. I don't want him losing his job because I was lonely and stupid. That right there was the moment I started to see the next layer. You're talking like you owe him. My voice went flat, quiet, dangerous even to my own ears. What did you promise? What did you sign? What did you give him? She froze, eyes widening, hand drifting unconsciously toward her bag. Don't do this. Her voice dropped to a strained whisper. Don't turn every piece of this into some new crime. My heart rate spiked at that word piece. How much money? I wasn't even pretending anymore. Her shoulders sagged like something heavy finally snapped. Enough that you're going to flip out if I say the number. I laughed once, short and humorless. Try me. Silence stretched between us, long and sharp. 5 figures, she muttered, staring at the floor. My breath left my lungs like someone punched me straight in the center. From where? I knew, but I needed to hear which account she'd gutted. Some from my savings, some from ours, some from the credit line. Heat rushed up the back of my neck, buzzing in my ears. For what? New training gear, inspirational speeches, what exactly? She flinched again, shoulders curling in. He needed to cover some debts, and I thought if I helped, he'd stop pulling me. So there it was. She had paid my son's coach like some weird emotional ransom. I stared at her, unable to recognize the person in front of me. The lawyer told me to look for missing money. I guess I found it early. She scoffed, wiping her eyes with the heel of her hand. Oh good, I'm just a case study now, but he loved hearing about this. Her bitterness didn't hide the tremor in her voice. You're not even mad about me anymore, you're mad about him. I'm mad about everything, in a circle all day. I leaned both hands on the table, breathing slow to keep from yelling. And yeah, I'm furious that you let that guy reach into our accounts. My fingers dug into the wood until my knuckles hurt. The doorbell cut through the standoff like a siren. We stared at each other, both thinking the same name. Her eyes went huge, then she glanced toward the front hall. If that's who I think it is, this ends differently than he expects. I grabbed my phone and slid it into recording mode without thinking. The attorney's voice echoed in my head again. Gather evidence, document. She hurried ahead of me, smoothing her shirt, trying to erase panic. I followed, staying in the shadow of the hallway. She opened the door only halfway at first. His voice carried in anyway, that fake friendly tone he used with parents. Got a minute? Figured we should clear the air about earlier. I pressed my back against the wall, thumb hovering over the screen. You can't be here. Her words came out sharp but not final. That's not what it sounded like on the phone last night. His sneakers scraped on the threshold, trying to cross. Keep your voice down, he's home. She stepped into the doorway, blocking him with her body. That never stopped you before, he muttered, lower now, more edge. The hairs on my arms stood up at the change in his tone. I'm dealing with fallout, I can't have you hanging on the porch. She gripped the door with both hands, knuckles pale. You owe me a conversation after everything I put on the line. I edged closer, careful to stay out of sight, phone still running. Oh, you. He snorted softly. I'm the one juggling angry parents and a board that wants a clean image. His voice dropped, threatening without being loud. You told me you'd help with your card, you said you'd move quicker. Her words came fast, desperate, tripping over each other. I covered your mess, you promised you'd be there if things blew up. He let out a low laugh that made my stomach twist. I said I'd see what I could do, big difference. Footsteps shifted on the porch. You're the one who wanted dramatic texting and motel nights, not a merger. The casual cruelty in that sentence hit me harder than any punch. Don't talk like that here. Her voice shook now, losing its earlier steel. You told me you cared, you said you saw a future with me. Another soft laugh, like she'd cracked a joke. I said what I needed to keep you from ghosting before playoffs. He paused, letting that sit there. You were fun, you made the days shorter, that's what this was. I gripped the phone tighter, my hand aching. What about the money? She whispered it, but I still caught every syllable. You'll get it back when I get on my feet, relax. There was no urgency in his tone, no real intention. You told me you were already interviewing, you said you almost had something. She sounded like she was pleading with a loan officer now. Yeah, well, almost doesn't deposit into accounts. The smirk in his voice made my teeth grind. What if he finds out the full amount, what then? Her breath hitched. He already snooped once, you don't know what he's capable of when cornered. That line almost made me step into view. You scared of him now? Coach's tone shifted, softer, coaxing. Thought you said he was all talk and routine, no risk. That broke something open in my chest. Don't twist my words. Her shoes scuffed against the floor as she shifted. I'm hanging on by a thread here, I ruined my marriage for you. For a beat, silence. Then he spoke again, quieter, more calculated. You ruined your marriage before me, I was just the part you enjoyed. I could almost see the smug tilt of his head through the wall. You keep your end clean this week, then we both step out quieter. What does that even mean, step out how? She sounded lost now, all the earlier bravado gone. You keep him from making noise at the field, you keep the board calm. Then his voice sharpened, and you don't call me late when you've been drinking. I had heard enough. I pocketed the phone, swallowed the shaking in my hands. Then I stepped around the corner into the entryway. Good thing she's sober right now, so you can hear every word clearly. He jerked back like someone yanked him by the collar. Her head whipped toward me, eyes wide, face drained. You spying in your own house now? He tried to recover fast, posture going loose and casual. I'm listening in my own house, yeah. I moved between them and the inside of the hallway. You step off this porch, you stay away from my family, we're finished. My chest burned, but my voice stayed steady. Or what, you gonna swing at your kid's coach on the front lawn? He took one bold step inside the threshold, testing the line. You really want the cops out here with neighbors watching? He tried to sound amused, but his jaw ticked. I pointed at the walkway. One last time, step back, you're done here. My eyes didn't leave his, not even for a blink. Behind him, I saw the shapes of two neighbors slowing their walk. He backed up one deliberate step, then another, hands raised. Relax, no one's trying to steal anything that still belongs to you. The jab landed and he saw it. We're all adults, some things just fade out on their own. Make this one fade fast. I reached for the door, ready to shut the whole scene. He glanced past me at her, gave a tiny half smile. You know where to find me if you change your mind. I slammed the door before she could answer. The walls vibrated for a second, then settled. She stood there breathing hard, hands shaking, face blotchy. You didn't have to handle it like a showdown in a parking lot. You invited him to the parking lot version of our life. I pulled my phone out, screen still glowing, recording timer stopped. Now I have his voice talking about debts and promises and fun. Her gaze locked on the phone like it was a loaded weapon. You're going to play that for everyone, aren't you? She took a step back, shoulders pressing into the wall. For lawyers, for whoever tries to paint him like a harmless mentor. I slid the phone into my pocket again, heart still racing. He's not harmless, I know that better than you think. Her laugh came out harsh, half sob, half mockery. You think you're the only one who got played here. She wiped her cheeks rough, like she wanted to erase her own skin. You wired him cash, you covered his mess, you handed over our safety. Each sentence hit her like a separate blow. And for what? A guy who now calls you fun in the past tense. She winced at that last part more than anything. He promised we'd get a place, that he'd help with everything once he moved up. Her words tumbled out before she could stop them. He said he knew people, that this was temporary, that I just had to hang on. She threw her hands up, half angry at him, half furious at herself. I leaned back against the opposite wall, exhausted. So he dangled some future role, and you bankrolled his present. The math was ugly and simple. And now we're standing in a house with hollowed accounts. She slid down the wall until she sat on the floor, knees up. For the first time, she looked less like a co-conspirator and more like a mark. I thought I was smarter than this, I thought I could handle both worlds. Her voice broke on the last words, forcing her to look away. I would love to tell you I felt nothing in that moment. That I stayed stone cold, righteous, unshaken. Truth is, part of me still hurt watching her crumble. Another part whispered that this was only the start of the fallout. Over the next weeks, the money cracks widened fast. Bank alerts popped up about balances dipping lower than usual. A statement showed a cash advance I never took. Our son's training fees for the new program suddenly felt heavier. One afternoon, a past due notice landed in the mailbox. I held it up in front of her at the table. This tied to his miracle plan too. She stared at the paper, then nodded without even trying to spin. I thought he'd help fill it back once his new job came through. Her voice sounded flat now, emptied of drama. He stopped answering 3 days ago, calls go straight to voicemail. That was the first time she said it out loud. Blocked you. I sank into the chair opposite her. After everything you forwarded his way, he just vanished. I shouldn't have been surprised, but it still stunned me. He's not at practice either, they said he resigned for personal reasons. She rubbed her temples with both hands, eyes squeezed shut. Parents are whispering, they think it's about some bored drama. She let out a bitter little laugh that died fast. They're half right. I folded the notice, then unfolded it, like that would change the numbers. He took your trust, he drained our accounts, then walked before the ship sank. I pictured his easy smirk on our porch, that last smug look. I wish this chapter ended with that discovery and a clean break. Like paperwork and empty accounts forced us into some tidy lesson. But that's not how it played out. His disappearance was just the first move in a new, uglier game I didn't see coming yet. She hammered the door like she was running from something. I sat up in the guest bed, pulse racing, heart loud in my ears. Our boy snored down the hall, completely out, no clue what was coming. The pounding kept going, faster now, like whoever it was might crumble. I grabbed my phone, checked the time, way past midnight. Another hit shook the frame, followed by her voice, raw and hoarse. Please open up, I know you're there, please. That last word cracked, and something in me cracked with it. I unlocked the deadbolt and pulled the door halfway. She stood on the porch, soaked in sweat, hair plastered, hands trembling. Her eyes looked wild, more animal than person, pupils huge. Behind her, the street sat empty, but she kept glancing over her shoulder. Can I come in, just for tonight, I can't stay out there. She reached for the door, fingers brushing the edge, nails bitten short. I stepped into the space, blocking her, the old reflex kicking in. What happened? Talk before you cross this line again. He's gone, he's really gone this time. I checked everywhere. Her words tumbled out fast and uneven, breath catching between them. She leaned against the doorframe, legs shaking, one ankle turning slightly. He took off, he emptied what was left, then he snapped. The part of me that still cared about her bruises argued with the part that remembered the motel texts. Walk me through it slowly, or I call someone else instead. I kept my voice low, steady, so I didn't wake our kid. She wrapped her arms around herself, as if she could hold herself upright. I went to his place, I needed answers, he wouldn't call back. Her lips split open on one side when she spoke, fresh and swelling. When I asked for my money, he laughed, said it was tuition. A bitter smile curled across her face, then died. You let him put hands on you. It slipped out before I could filter it, more statement than question. She touched the side of her jaw, fingers hovering, not quite landing. He shoved me into the counter, told me to get over it. Anger shot through me faster than I could swallow it down. Not the old anger, something new, something ugly and protective. You call the police right now, or we drive there together. I stepped back so she could choose, phone already ready in my hand. She shook her head hard, shoulders shuddering, eyes squeezed shut. I can't have my name tied to him on any reports. She pressed her back to the brick, sliding down an inch. He still has my messages, he said he'd show them to everyone. There it was, the other trap he left behind. Not just cash, not just bruises, but leverage. He's bluffing more than you think, but that doesn't matter tonight. I glanced back down the hallway, listening for any stirring from our son. Where are you sleeping lately? The question came out more gentle than I expected. Her throat bobbed as she swallowed, gaze dropping to her worn shoes. Friend's couch last week, car yesterday, that lot off the highway. Shame washed over her face, thick and choking. I lost the apartment, I'm behind on everything, I got written up at work. She rubbed one wrist with the other hand, circling the same spot. They found gaps in the accounts and I panicked and I messed up the cover. So now you're crashing parking lots and running from debt collectors. The words sounded harsher out loud, but they were true. Her shoulders folded inward like she expected a physical hit. I didn't know where else to go, everyone else got tired of the drama. A board creaked upstairs, then quiet again. Our boy shifted, then settled, still oblivious to the storm below. I stared at her for a solid 10 seconds, fighting myself. Then I stepped aside, just enough for her to squeeze past. Shoes off, couch only, this is not a reunion. I kept my tone firm, no warmth, no promise. She nodded too fast, relief pouring out in a shaky breath. Thank you, I know I don't deserve this much. She moved into the living room, limping a little, hand on the wall. I followed, not touching her but staying within reach in case she fell. She eased onto the couch like every joint hurt. Up close, I saw a dark mark blooming near her ribs. What is that? I pointed and she tugged her shirt down, trying to hide it. He kicked the door when I said I was coming here, it swung into me. Her voice dropped so low I almost missed the last part. I grabbed a throw blanket from the chair and tossed it toward her. Sleep, we'll talk after sunrise when our kid is at school. She clutched the fabric like a shield, pulling it to her chin. Does he hate me now, or is he still confused? Both. The word landed between us, heavy and honest. He's angry and lost, and I'm not letting you spin that for him. Her eyes filled again, but she blinked hard, holding it back. I killed the lights and went back to the guest room, but sleep never came. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that busted lip and that fading smirk from the porch weeks earlier. I kept replaying a stupid question in my head. At what point do you stop seeing someone as just the villain? Morning came anyway, loud and sudden, alarm buzzing through the hallway. I met our son in the kitchen, doing my best impression of normal. He squinted at my face, reading the exhaustion I couldn't hide. You look like you pulled an all-nighter, you okay? Didn't sleep great, got stuff on my mind, that's all. I cracked eggs, hands moving on autopilot while my brain spun. Halfway through cooking, he glanced toward the living room doorway. Is someone here? I heard coughing earlier. Before I could answer, she shuffled in, blanket around her shoulders. His fork froze halfway to his mouth, eyes going wide. Mom. The word came out flat, no joy, no hate, just shock. Hey, buddy. She tried a small smile, the split in her lip making it painful. He stared at the bruise on her jaw, then at the one near her side. What happened to you? Did you get in a car wreck? Her eyes flicked to me, searching for a script. I got hurt arguing with someone who didn't take it well. She moved to the other side of the table, not too close. I shouldn't have gone there, it was a bad call. Our kid's gaze bounced between us, suspicion rising fast. With coach. He spat the word like it burned his tongue. Her shoulders jerked, and that was all the answer he needed. You went back to him after everything. His voice cracked louder now, cutting through the room. I set the pan down, ready to jump in if he exploded. He pushed away from the table, fingers digging into the edge. I thought you were done with him, you said you were done. Tears filled his eyes, but he refused to let them fall. You left us, G. Ave him money, and he hurt you too. He turned away, wiping his face with the back of his sleeve. She reached out, then pulled her hand back, too scared to touch him. I messed up again, worse this time, I know that. Her voice shook, almost breaking. I have nowhere else to land, and I wanted to see you. He let out a rough laugh that sounded way too old for his age. You wanted somewhere to crash, you mean, not just see me. That line hit her harder than any shove from Coach's kitchen. I stayed quiet because it wasn't my place to pad this moment. I won't stay if your dad doesn't want it, I get that. She folded the blanket tighter around herself. I just needed one safe place before I break completely. Her eyes locked on our son, not me. He looked at me instead, jaw clenched, waiting for my ruling. School first, all of this after, you don't need to carry it into class. I picked up his backpack and held it out. Eat, grab your stuff, we'll drop you off, then talk here. The ride to school felt like holding a live wire. He sat in the back, headphones in but no music playing. At the drop-off lane, he leaned forward, voice low. Is she staying? For now on the couch, nothing more. I kept my eyes on the line of cars creeping forward. This is about making sure you aren't wondering if she's freezing somewhere. He exhaled slowly, a frustrated sound more than relief. Don't let her sweet talk you into forgetting everything. He pulled the door handle, pausing one last second. She sweet talked him too, look how that turned out. Then he stepped out and disappeared into the flow of kids. Back at the house, she was at the sink, rinsing a cup with shaky hands. Her shoulders hunched like she expected yelling instead of words. You should see a nurse about that lip and that rib. I leaned against the counter, not moving closer. Can't afford it right now, and I'm on probation at work. She dabbed her mouth with a towel, wincing. They found creative accounting, connected my name to it, I'm lucky I'm not fired. She dropped the towel onto the counter, hands empty. You told them why the numbers were wrong. I already knew the answer, but I asked anyway. I told them I was careless, not criminal, and that I fixed most of it. Her eyes flicked up, daring me to call that lie out. You didn't fix anything, he ran off with the fix. I crossed my arms, grounding myself. Collections will hit hard, and that's on both of you now. She swallowed, throat working, then nodded once. That's not the only problem. Her fingers started tapping against the counter, fast and rhythmic. I knew that nervous beat, it usually preceded something worse. You're already standing in my kitchen, it's bad enough, just finish the sentence. She sucked in a shaky breath, shoulders lifting with it. I went to urgent care 2 weeks ago, before I lost the apartment. Her fingers gripped the edge of the counter until they shook. I thought it was stress, or maybe an ulcer, or something with my blood pressure. Let me guess, it wasn't stress. My voice came out flat, but my pulse jumped. She shook her head, eyes closing for a moment. They ran tests, did a scan, asked me when my last cycle was. A cold weight dropped under my ribs, heavier than the lawyer's folder. I already knew where this was heading, but I couldn't stop it. They gave you a due date. The words tasted like iron in my mouth. They gave me a number and a heartbeat on a screen. Her whole body trembled now, like she might drop. I'm pregnant, and if you do the math, you know why I'm terrified. She finally looked straight at me, no shield, no filter. The room shrank down to just that one sentence. Every choice, every file, every practice, every late text slammed together. How sure are you about who? I couldn't finish the question, my throat locked. I counted everything 10 times in my head, it still lands in the gray. Her voice dropped to almost nothing, but it carried. It could be yours, it could be his, there's no clean answer yet. Tears slipped down and she didn't bother wiping them. I gripped the back of a chair until my hand ached. Somewhere outside, a truck rumbled by, normal life rolling past our mess. So now you want safety, a couch, and maybe a husband back. The bitterness slipped out before I could strip it. I want my kid's father to know what he's stepping into. She straightened up a little, even while shaking. I want a roof that doesn't leak and a chance to fix something for once. She spread her hands empty, palms up. I don't know what I feel about you anymore. I forced the truth out, even though it tasted awful. You broke us, then he broke you, now you're here with another break. My voice frayed on that last word. She nodded slowly, absorbing that like she expected it. I'm not asking you to love me again, I don't even like me right now. Her eyes glistened, but her gaze did waver. I'm asking you not to let me crash alone while carrying a maybe ours. That line lodged itself somewhere I couldn't shake. Because underneath all the anger and debt and betrayal, there it was. A possible child hanging in the balance between two disasters. I knew right then that whatever I chose next would mark all of us for years. I pushed the lawyer's folder across the table toward her. She stared at it like it might burn straight through the wood. You went back to him, you're carrying maybe his kid, and I still called the attorney before I answered you. My voice sounded calm, but inside everything rattled loose. She lifted the cover with 2 fingers like it weighed a ton. What is this? You already finished the divorce papers. Her thumb traced the top page, eyes jumping over the lines. I told you last time I was planning for this fallout. I added something today. I tapped the edge, not looking away from her face. Custody language, support language, stuff about another child if it's mine. Her jaw tightened at the word if. You're really going to talk like that about a baby? Her hands shook, but she refused to pull them off the folder. That heartbeat isn't a spreadsheet, it's not some item in a plan. She blinked fast, fighting tears and anger at the same time. I'm talking like the only adult in this house who hasn't lied. Yeah, that came out harsher than I meant, but not by much. You want a roof, you want help, you want me back too, that's 3 different asks. I held up 3 fingers one by one to keep myself focused. Fine, let's separate them then. She swallowed hard, one hand drifting to her stomach without thinking. I want a place to sleep that isn't a parking lot, that's first. Her voice cracked on that last word, and I hated how it still hit me. You can stay here on the couch short-term with rules. I pulled my hand back from the papers, giving her space and boundary. No secret calls, no visits from him, no games with money. Each rule came out like a nail in a board. Okay, I can live with that. She nodded quickly, relief flashing too fast in her eyes. What about help with the bills and this pregnancy stuff? She rubbed her wrist, the same spot she always focused when scared. I'll cover what our son needs and basic house stuff, and I'll drive you to appointments if you want that. I chose each piece carefully, cutting out anything that sounded like romance. If the baby's mine, I step up as a father, not a husband. There it was out loud, no way to drag it back. She flinched like I'd thrown something heavy across the room. You really think you can split those roles clean? Her eyes searched me, trying to find the old version that would fold. You were my partner before you were anything else. That version of me died behind a baseball field. The words surprised even me, they came out so flat. I can't unsee what I saw or unread what I read. My fingers pressed into the table edge until my knuckles protested. She looked down, thumb smoothing the corner of the folder again. What about option 3 from your list? Her voice softened, almost careful. What about us, the marriage, the home we built? I let the question hang there until the quiet felt thick. That option is off the table for now, maybe forever. Saying forever made my stomach twist, but also loosen in a strange way. I'm not dragging myself back into your disaster while you're still bleeding from it. You're punishing me twice. She leaned back, eyes shiny, mouth pulling tight. Once for cheating, once for getting hurt after I cheated, that's what this is. Her accusation hung there, ugly and not completely wrong. I'm protecting myself once. I lifted the folder and set it closer to my side. You can call it punishment if that helps you sleep on the couch. I regretted that last line as soon as it left my mouth. She stared at me for a long beat, breathing slow. Does he know about the pregnancy? Her voice came out small for the first time since all this started. Or did you only tell the guy who actually shows up? He doesn't answer your calls, he isn't coming back, he doesn't care if you live or not. I ticked the facts off like items, trying not to sound gleeful about it. So no, I'm not looping him in, you can try if you want. I shrugged once because I honestly expected nothing from that man ever again. She laughed once, sharp and painful. He'd just say it is yours, then vanish because that's what he does. She wiped under her nose with the back of her hand. So I'm stuck with you being the only one angry enough to still be reliable. Later that afternoon, I picked up our son from school with my stomach in knots. He climbed into the car, threw his bag on the seat, and waited. He didn't put headphones in this time, which scared me more. You talked to her, right? Yeah. I merged into traffic, fingers tight around the. We need to have another ugly conversation tonight after homework. He groaned but didn't argue this round. Is she living with us now? He stared out the window, but I could see his reflection watching me. For a while on the sofa until we figure next steps. I heard my voice going careful, the way I used with parents at work. That's a yes. He leaned his head against the glass. You keep saying temporary like you believe it, but I saw your face this morning. I almost laughed at how accurate that was. When you get home, walk into the kitchen, look at the folder. My tone shifted, more serious now. That is my proof I'm not clinging to this marriage. He frowned, not quite understanding yet, but curious. That night, I spread the paperwork out on the table. He dropped his bag and stood over the pages, reading the headings. Is this what I think it is? He tapped one line about property with his finger. It's the path out, not just a threat. I folded one page over so he wouldn't have to see certain lines. I'm not waving divorce around to scare her, I'm getting ready. He nodded once, slower this time. Are you staying or leaving when it goes through? He looked up, eyes older than they should be. I'm staying in this house if I can afford it, that's my goal. I answered fast because that part was actually clear. And Mom, the word sounded strange coming out of his mouth. She'll have somewhere else eventually, with or without me, that's on her. He sucked in a breath, then let it out with a shaky exhale. She told me she's pregnant. He dropped that like a brick between us. Did she tell you yet, or did I just blow your big moment? His attempt at sarcasm trembled. She told me. I pulled out a chair and gestured for him to sit. We don't know who the father is, that's the ugly truth. Saying it to him hurt more than hearing it from her. He sat slowly, shoulders tight, hands squeezed together. So it could be my little brother or his kid, the guy who tried to wreck us. His eyes filled, but he blinked the tears away, jaw locked. What happens to me either way? You stay my son, every version. I leaned forward, forearms on the table. You keep your room, your school, your team, that part stays. He sniffed once, nodding, still angry but less lost. And if the baby is yours? He swallowed hard, voice almost whispering. Do you forgive her? Do we pretend none of this happened? He stared right through me with that question. No. I let that tiny word sit there and do its full work. If it's mine, I take care of it. I do not erase what she did. He nodded again, slower, ribs rising and falling. And if it's his? His hands balled into fists on his knees. Do we have his kid running around our house calling you dad? The disgust in his tone made my chest ache. If it's his, the court figures a lot of that out and she deals with it with someone else. I reached out and rested my hand near his, not touching yet. I won't let that man's choices dictate our home anymore. That was the clearest promise I could give. You sound sure for someone who looks wrecked. He glanced at me, a tiny spark of dark humor showing. I am wrecked, but I'm still drawing lines. I waited, letting him decide if he wanted to meet my hand. He finally uncurled his fingers and placed his palm over mine. Then don't move those lines when she cries, please. He squeezed once hard. I can't handle watching you fall for it again. Weeks blurred into appointments, phone calls, and small, sharp arguments. We sat side by side at the clinic one Tuesday, not touching. A nurse called her name, and we both stood like we were on trial. You coming or staying out here? I almost stayed in the waiting area. Honestly, walking into that room felt like walking into a trap. But some other part of me, the part that remembered my son's first scan, got up. I'm coming for the child, not for you. Inside, the tech spread gel on her stomach and aimed the probe. The machine beeped and then a sound filled the space. Fast, steady, unmistakable. We both froze as that little rhythm echoed off the walls. That's the heartbeat. The tech smiled briefly, focused on the screen. You're past the early risk zone, everything looks stable so far. I nodded, even though she wasn't talking to me. My ex, or whatever she was now, stared at the monitor. Tears streamed down the sides of her face, silent and constant. I don't deserve a healthy baby, I know that. Her hand trembled on her stomach, fingers spread wide. I looked at that pulsing dot and felt something ugly and pure bump together. Rage at how we got here, and a weird protective instinct I didn't invite. This kid didn't cheat on anyone or steal anything. The words came out rough, scraped from somewhere deep. On the drive home, she rested her head against the window. They said we can do a test later to know whose it is. Her voice was tired, not dramatic, just worn. I don't know which answer scares me more. That makes two of us. I kept my eyes on the road, knuckles pale around the wheel. If it's mine, my life tilts. If it's his, yours implodes all over again. She gave a small, humorless snort at that. Back at the house, my attorney called while she napped on the couch. I stepped onto the back steps, phone pressed to my ear. She's pregnant, timing overlaps, paternity uncertain. Just saying it in a legal sentence felt surreal. He was quiet a moment, then he spoke. You can file now and modify details later, or hold and watch. I stared through the screen door at her sleeping form, blanket over her legs. I don't want to freeze in place because of maybe. So we proceed with the dissolution, with temporary orders for support and language for additional child if applicable. His tone stayed neutral, like this was just another Tuesday. You maintain the house, you keep things civil, you do not reconcile under pressure. That last point hit harder than the others. Even if she begs or the kid complicates everything. I ran a hand over my face, tired down to the bones. Especially then, that's when people sign away their boundaries. He let that sit before we discussed dates. The court date landed a few weeks out. I circled it on the calendar, then immediately wished I hadn't. Our son walked by, noticed the mark and paused. That's the day this officially blows up. That's the day a judge reads what we already know. I capped the marker and set it aside. This house changes after that, even if it looks the same outside. He watched my face, weighing my words. The night before that date, she knocked on my doorframe. I was in the spare room again, sorting through a box of papers. She hovered there, one hand on her stomach, the other gripping the wood. We talk tonight, or we never talk for real again. She stepped in without waiting, shutting the door behind her. I can't walk into that courtroom tomorrow like this, not knowing where your heart is. Her eyes were swollen, but her voice stayed oddly steady. I need to ask one more time before everything hardens. I set the file down and looked straight at her. Ask then listen, because my answer won't be soft. She took a deep breath, shoulders rising and falling. Let me come back, not just sleep here, really come back. She walked closer, stopping at the end of the bed. We raise our son, we raise this baby, we rebuild us. Her gaze locked onto mine, desperate and intense. I will do the work, I will go to therapy, I will cut everyone off, just say yes. For a split second I pictured it. Family photos, practices, dinners, doctor visits, all under one roof. The easy story most people want, the one where forgiveness fixes everything. Then the actual history slammed back into place like a door. You're not asking for a chance. I stood up, putting the mattress between us. You're asking me to sign up for being the safety net after you jumped. Her mouth parted, ready to argue, but no sound came out. Our son asked me not to move my lines when you cry. I let that land because it mattered. He deserves a father he can trust, not to fold every time. Her face crumpled at the mention of him. I know I hurt him, I know I hurt you. She covered her face with both hands, shoulders shaking. I just keep thinking, if this kid is yours, they deserve both parents under one roof. Her fingers dug into her cheeks, leaving red marks. They deserve two stable parents, not one stable and one desperate. I moved toward the door, needing the distance. I can co-parent with you, I can coexist, I cannot be your partner again. Every word felt like ripping tape off an open wound. So that's it. She dropped her hands, eyes raw, lungs working hard. You're choosing your pride over your family, that's what you'll tell yourself. She laughed once, then choked on it. I'm choosing my sanity and our kids over repeating the same fire. My palm rested on the door frame, grounding me. If this baby is mine, I'll be there from day one, but from my own address eventually. Her breath hitched and she swayed a little. You're going to watch me walk out of here pregnant and alone. Her voice thinned to almost nothing on that last word. You can crash here until you find somewhere. I'm not throwing you on the street. I opened the door because I needed air. I'm saying no to being your husband again. I'm not saying no to being human. She stepped past me, one arm across her stomach. At the threshold of the living room, she paused and looked back. You're going to regret this when you see that baby's face. Maybe. I shrugged because I honestly didn't know. Or maybe I'll regret every day I stayed if I say yes now. We stared at each other for one long, brutal moment. Then she walked to the couch, lay down, and turned away. I went to my son's room and watched him sleep for a while. His arm was flung over his head, mouth slightly open, breathing slow. I whispered one promise just for me. I pick you first every time, even when it breaks me. He shifted a little but didn't wake, and I stepped back. On my way to the guest room, I passed the couch without stopping. Her back rose and fell under the blanket, quiet and distant. The next morning, we drove to the courthouse in separate cars. Our son stayed with a friend, out of the blast zone for once. Inside, we sat on opposite sides, waiting for our names to be called. She rubbed her stomach in small circles, eyes fixed on the floor. When the judge finally signed the order, it felt weirdly anticlimactic. No fireworks, no shouting, just a stamp and a file sliding away. Walking out, she caught my arm near the doorway. This isn't the end, we're still tied together. For the kids, yes. I eased my arm free, gently but firmly. Not as husband and wife, not as lovers, not as anything else. She nodded slowly, eyes shining, then turned toward the stairs. I stepped outside into the air and pulled the door shut behind me. The latch clicked louder in my head than in the world. For the first time since I saw her behind that field, the path in front of me was mine. Messy, painful, unfinished, but mine.